It was raining again in New London. The city lights reflected on wet metal streets, turning the lower levels into rivers of color. Ethan Cole walked with his hood up, a small tool bag hanging from his shoulder. He had just finished another long shift repairing energy lines for the city grid. The night was cold and the streets were nearly empty. Only the sound of air cars far above and the dripping of rain filled the silence. Ethan liked the quiet. The upper cities were full of noise and people who never looked down. Down here in the lower decks, life was slower, harder, and more honest. Most people were workers like him, or refugees from other planets who had come to Earth hoping for a better life. They rarely got one. As he passed through a narrow alley, Ethan saw something strange. At first, he thought it was just a pile of old clothes or broken tech. But then it moved. A weak sound escaped from it, a soft, trembling voice. Ethan stopped, his instincts telling him to walk away. It wasn't smart to get involved in street trouble. But something inside him wouldn't let him ignore it. He stepped closer. Under a torn blanket, he saw a woman. At least she looked like one. Her skin was pale silver, faintly glowing under the rain light. Her hair shimmered like thin wires, and her eyes, half open, glowed faint blue. Ethan realized she wasn't human. She was one of the alien refugees who had arrived years ago, after the corporate wars destroyed several star systems. "Hey," Ethan said softly, kneeling beside her. "You okay?" The woman didn't answer. Her breathing was shallow, her hands shaking. She looked scared more than hurt. Ethan glanced around. No one else was there. The alley smelled of rust and rainwater. He couldn't just leave her here. "All right," he muttered, lifting her gently. "Let's get you out of the rain." She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. He carried her through 2 blocks of dark corridors to his small apartment, a single room above a power substation. It wasn't much, but it was warm and dry. He laid her carefully on his couch and grabbed a blanket. Her clothes were torn, covered in dust and ash. Around her wrist was a metallic band, glowing faintly. Ethan thought it looked broken. He had seen alien tech before in repair shops, but nothing quite like this. When she opened her eyes again, she looked around the room, frightened. "It's all right," Ethan said, raising his hands. "You're safe here. I'm not gonna hurt you." The woman looked at him for a long moment before whispering. "Where am I?" "New London, lower deck, section 12, Ethan answered. "Name's Ethan. You collapsed in an alley. Figured you could use some help." She hesitated, then nodded slightly. "My name, Liara." "Liara," Ethan repeated. "All right, Liara, you're freezing. Let's fix that first." He gave her a thermal blanket and some water. She drank slowly, her movements shaky but graceful. When she finally spoke again, her voice was soft, melodic, different from any language he had ever heard, though she spoke perfect English. "Why did you help me?" she asked quietly. Ethan shrugged. "You looked like you needed it. Nobody deserves to die alone in an alley." Liara stared at him, confused, as if kindness was something she didn't understand. She lowered her gaze and whispered, "Thank you." While she rested, Ethan looked at her wristband again. It was cracked and sparking faintly, like it was trying to start up but couldn't. He could tell it meant something important, maybe a translator, maybe a life monitor. He worked with machines every day. Fixing things was what he did best. "Mind if I take a look at that?" he asked. Liara hesitated, then nodded. Ethan fetched his toolkit and sat beside her. He opened a small panel on the side of the device and saw thin lines of glowing circuits running through it. It was beautiful work, delicate and complex. He used his microsolder and gently reconnected 2 loose wires. As soon as he did, the band pulsed with light, then projected a small hologram into the air above them. Ethan jumped back in surprise. Floating between them was a map, stars and symbols spinning slowly. He recognized none of it. "What is that?" he asked. Liara stared at the hologram with wide eyes. Her lips trembled as she whispered something in her native language. When she looked back at him, her expression was a mix of awe and fear. "This is my home," she said softly. "Or what remains of it." Ethan didn't understand. "Your home? You mean your planet?" She nodded slowly, tears forming in her bright eyes. "It's gone now." The air between them grew heavy. Ethan didn't know what to say. He had heard stories. Whole species wiped out during the Syndicate expansion wars. Refugees flooded human colonies, most of them broken, their cultures lost. He realized she might be one of those survivors. Liara seemed distant for the rest of the night. She sat by the window watching the city lights far above. Ethan made them some soup, though she barely touched it. When he asked if she had anywhere to go, she shook her head. I was looking for something, she said softly, but I failed. What were you looking for? She hesitated, then answered, hope. Ethan didn't ask more. He could tell she wasn't ready to talk. Instead, he tried to make her comfortable. He gave her his bed and took the floor. Before turning off the lights, he glanced at her one last time. She was staring at the hologram again, her fingers tracing the stars as if they were memories she didn't want to lose. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the sky was still dark. Ethan made coffee and checked his work messages. Nothing urgent. Liara was awake, sitting quietly by the window again. Her face looked a little brighter, her skin glowing faintly now that she had eaten and rested. Feeling better? He asked. Yes, she said softly. Your world is loud, bright, but kind. Ethan smiled. You must be new here, Liara nodded. I came to find something. But they found me first. Who? Ethan asked, but she didn't answer. Her eyes darted to the window, her face suddenly tense. Ethan followed her gaze. Outside, 3 hovering drones passed by the street, scanning doorways with red lights. He recognized the insignia, Orion Syndicate Security. They were corporate enforcers known for rounding up illegal aliens and anyone helping them. Ethan's heart raced. You're not registered, are you? Liara shook her head, fear in her voice. If they find me, I will disappear. Like the others, Ethan didn't even think. He grabbed his old tool locker and motioned for her to hide behind it.
Stay quiet. The drone stopped outside his door.
A mechanical voice echoed. Routine scan. Open the door. Ethan opened it halfway, keeping his expression calm. Evening, officers. What's the problem? Energy fluctuation detected in this area, the lead drone replied. Unregistered alien technology may be present. Ethan forced a smile. Just me and my broken coffee maker. Want to see? The drone scanned the room. Its red beam passed dangerously close to where Liara hid. Ethan's heart pounded. The drone lingered for a moment, then beeped and pulled back. No anomaly detected. Continue operations. They flew off into the night. Ethan closed the door and exhaled heavily. That was close. Liara stepped out from behind the locker, shaking. You risked your life for me. Guess I did, Ethan said with a small grin. Not the smartest thing I've ever done. Liara looked at him, emotion shining in her eyes. You are different from most humans. Ethan laughed softly. I get that a lot. She smiled faintly for the first time. Thank you, Ethan Cole. As she spoke, the wristband on her arm glowed again. The hologram flickered brighter this time, showing new stars forming around a symbol, a circle of light expanding outward. Neither of them noticed the tiny pulse of energy that escaped through the wall, vanishing into the night sky. Far above the city, in the orbiting Syndicate station, a signal appeared on a console. Beacon detected, Kalaran signature confirmed. The hunt had begun. The rain had stopped, but the storm had only just begun. Ethan Cole barely slept that night. Every sound made him glance toward the window. The memory of the Syndicate drones still played in his mind. Their cold, red scanners, the metallic voices, the danger in every word. He had helped a stranger before, but this time something felt different, something bigger. When morning came, Liara was already awake. She stood in the center of the room, her silver skin glowing softly in the dim light. The broken holographic map floated above her wristband again, spinning slowly. Ethan rubbed his eyes and sat up. You've been up all night? Liara didn't look away from the map. The signal was sent. They will come for me now. Ethan frowned. Who's they? The Syndicate? Liara nodded slowly. Yes, the Orion Syndicate. They are not just a company. They are a rule. They own fleets, armies, worlds. They destroyed mine. Ethan froze. Her tone was calm, but her words were heavy. Destroyed? You mean, my world, she said, her voice trembling. Kalara. It was a peaceful planet. We lived among light and crystal. Our people learned to balance technology with nature. We shared our knowledge with other species. But when the Syndicate came, they demanded our technology. We refused, so they burned our skies. Ethan looked at her in disbelief. You're saying they wiped out your entire planet? Liara nodded, eyes glistening. I am the last, the only one left. The room felt suddenly smaller, filled with silence. Ethan couldn't imagine what it meant to lose everything, to be the last of your kind. He wanted to say something comforting, but no words seemed enough. He stood and walked to the small kitchen area, trying to think. "So that map," he said after a moment, "what is it showing?" Liara turned the hologram slightly. "It is showing where my people's memory was hidden. Before Kelara fell, our leaders created a secret archive. They placed all our knowledge, our culture, our history inside it, and sent it across the stars. It landed here on Earth a very long time ago." Ethan stared at her. "You're telling me there's an alien archive buried somewhere on Earth?" "Yes," she said. "It holds the last memory of my people. If I can find it, maybe Kelara will not be forgotten." Ethan scratched his head, trying to take it all in. "And the Syndicate wants it too, don't they?" Liara looked down. "They will not allow anyone to remember. If the archive is found, their crimes will be known to every world." Ethan sighed deeply. "So what's the plan? You can't just walk into a city full of Syndicate drones and dig it up?" Liara smiled faintly. "That is why I need your help." Ethan blinked. "My help? I'm just a maintenance engineer. I fix power lines, not alien history." She looked straight into his eyes. "You fixed my device. You saved me. You think with care, not greed. That is what my people valued most." Ethan couldn't argue with that. Part of him wanted to refuse, it was madness. But another part of him couldn't stand the idea of her facing all this alone. He sighed again. "All right. What do we need to do?" Liara's eyes brightened. "We must follow the signal. The archive lies beneath a structure filled with energy. The map shows it under the city's core, the central power plant." Ethan's eyebrows rose. "The power core? That's where I work." Liara's glow pulsed brighter. "Then fate has already chosen the path." By afternoon, Ethan had packed a few tools and spare parts into his bag. Liara borrowed a long coat and hood to hide her shimmering skin. They walked together through the crowded lower decks, blending in with the noise and steam. Every few minutes, Liara glanced behind them. Drones hovered near intersections, scanning random people. The Syndicate's presence was growing stronger. "Keep your head down," Ethan whispered. "If they catch you, they'll take us both." Liara nodded silently. They reached an old maintenance tunnel that led beneath the central power grid. The air was hot and smelled like ozone. Sparks flickered from loose wires. Ethan tapped a code into the access panel and the heavy door slid open with a hiss. "After you," he said with a grin. Liara hesitated but smiled back before stepping inside. The tunnel stretched deep beneath the city. The farther they went, the more ancient the walls looked, metal mixed with stone, like layers of history built over centuries. The sound of distant turbines echoed all around. "How do you know the archive is really here?" Ethan asked as they walked. Liara lifted her wristband. "The beacon speaks to it. I can feel the resonance." "It is close," Ethan chuckled softly. "I'll take your word for it." After nearly an hour of walking, they reached a massive chamber filled with blue light. The floor pulsed with power lines. In the center stood an old energy core, no longer used but still humming faintly. Liara's eyes widened. "This is it. The archive sleeps beneath." Ethan knelt beside a control panel. "If we dig through the wrong layer, we'll trigger a meltdown. I'll have to reroute the energy flow first." He worked quickly, fingers flying over the keys. Liara watched, her expression curious and admiring. "You understand machines like they are alive," she said softly. Ethan smiled. "They kinda are. You just have to listen." After a few minutes, the power reading stabilized. Ethan grabbed a plasma cutter and opened a small section of the floor. Beneath the metal plates, a soft light glowed, gentle and white like starlight trapped under glass. Liara knelt beside him, her hand trembling. "It's real," she whispered. "My people, they're here." She touched the light, and the entire room changed. Beams of energy rose from the floor, forming shapes, figures of light and sound. Ethan stepped back in awe. He saw tall, graceful beings like Liara, their voices echoing through the chamber in an ancient, melodic language. One of the light figures turned to Liara and spoke. The words were soft but powerful. Then a new hologram appeared, a tree of light filled with data streams branching endlessly. "It's a data transfer," Ethan realized. "They're sending information into the beacon." Liara nodded, tears on her face. "They are giving me everything that was lost." The light grew brighter, then shifted to include Ethan. The system scanned him, its voice gentle yet firm. "Secondary user detected, human, access granted." Ethan blinked. What? Why me? Liara looked surprised too. The archive has chosen you. It sees your heart. Before Ethan could reply, alarms blared. Red lights filled the tunnel. Liara's expression turned to fear. They found us. The heavy doors at the far end burst open. Syndicate soldiers poured in, armored, armed, and fast. Their commander shouted, "Step away from the device. You are under arrest for harboring an illegal entity." Ethan cursed under his breath. We're out of time. He slammed his fist on the control panel, diverting all power from the grid into a single pulse. The lights flickered wildly. Sparks flew everywhere. Ethan, what are you doing? Liara shouted. Buying us a chance, he yelled back. A massive shockwave rolled through the chamber. The Syndicate soldiers' weapons short-circuited, their visors flashing static. Ethan grabbed Liara's hand and pulled her toward the emergency tunnel. Move, he shouted. They ran through smoke and sparks, the sound of collapsing machinery behind them. The archive's glow followed them for a moment before fading into darkness. They finally reached an old service elevator and rode it upward. When the doors opened, they stepped into the open air of the upper decks. The stars above the city flickered faintly through the smog. Ethan leaned against a railing, breathing hard. That was close. Liara was holding her side, wounded. A piece of metal had cut through her coat. Her silver blood shimmered in the dim light. Hey, you're hurt, Ethan said, rushing to her. She shook her head weakly. It is nothing. You must protect the beacon. They will never stop. Ethan looked at her, worry and anger mixing inside him. We'll figure it out. I promise, Liara smiled faintly, her voice fading. You carry more of my people's hope now than I ever did. She collapsed into his arms, unconscious. Ethan looked out at the city's glowing towers. Somewhere out there, the Syndicate was regrouping. He knew they wouldn't stop until they had the beacon, and him. He tightened his grip on the small device glowing on her wrist. If they want it, he muttered, they'll have to go through me. Far above, in the Syndicate's orbital command center, the commander stared at a holographic feed showing Ethan's face. Human identified, the computer said. Subject now linked to Kalaran archive. The commander's cold smile spread. Then we know who to hunt next. The city slept under a blanket of fog and neon light, but Ethan Cole's mind did not. Liara lay unconscious beside him in the cramped safe house, a temporary refuge given by one of his old friends, a smuggler who owed him a favor. Her silver skin was pale, her glowing eyes dimmed to faint flickers. Ethan had cleaned and bandaged her wounds, but it was clear that she needed more than simple care. Hang on, Liara, he whispered, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. We're going to finish this. I promise, he checked the beacon device on her wrist. It pulsed faintly, still holding the Kelleran archive. The knowledge of an entire extinct species rested in that small piece of alien technology, and now the Syndicate had begun tracking him relentlessly. They'll never stop, he muttered to himself. He paced the room thinking, if the Syndicate reached Liara first, all hope of saving her people's memory would be lost. But the beacon had one final function, a way to broadcast the entire archive to every connected network in the galaxy. It was risky. To activate it, someone had to manually connect it to the Syndicate's orbital relay station, a station heavily guarded and nearly impossible to infiltrate. Ethan clenched his fists. Then that's what we'll do. The plan by nightfall, Ethan had mapped the Syndicate's orbital station using old schematics he had acquired from maintenance archives. He explained the plan to Liara once she regained enough strength to sit up. We can sneak in through the maintenance ducts, Ethan said, spreading the holographic map on the table. I can override the security protocols long enough to access the main relay. We just need to connect the beacon. Then it will broadcast the Kelleran archive to every communication channel in the galaxy. Liara nodded slowly. It is dangerous, but if we do not act now, all will be lost. You risk yourself for the knowledge of my people. Ethan shrugged. Someone has to. Humanity has a habit of screwing things up, but sometimes we also fix them. I'd rather die trying than let them vanish without a trace. Liara placed her hand on his. Then we act together. The moment of decision was clear. They gathered a few essential tools, secured the beacon to Liara's wrist, and prepared for infiltration. Infiltrating the station. The orbital station hung above the planet like a dark fortress, its metal hull glinting against the backdrop of stars. Ethan and Liara floated silently in a small shuttle, hidden by the station's shadow. Remember, Ethan whispered. Quiet, slow, and precise. One wrong move and they'll know we're here. Liara's eyes glowed faintly. I can sense some of their energy patterns. We will avoid most of the guards if we follow the hums. The shuttle docked at an abandoned maintenance port. Ethan opened the hatch and they entered the narrow service ducts. The air inside smelled faintly of metal and oil. Every step echoed slightly. Ethan's heart raced, but he kept his breathing steady. They reached the main chamber after crawling through twisting vents, dodging surveillance cameras and patrolling drones. The relay station's core towered before them, a massive cylinder of spinning energy. Red lights indicated high security zones. Ethan knelt beside a maintenance panel, his fingers moving quickly. This is it. Once I reroute the power, you can connect the beacon. But it has to be precise or we'll fry everything, including the archive. Liara held her wrist steady. I am ready. The confrontation, just as Ethan finished the override, a cold voice echoed through the chamber. Stop right there. Syndicate enforcers poured in from the access doors, weapons drawn. Their commander's armor glinted under the red warning lights. Ethan's mind raced. Liara now, he shouted. She leapt forward, placing the beacon against the relay's access port. A surge of white energy pulsed through the station, and the Kalaran archive began broadcasting across the galaxy. The Syndicate soldiers fired, but their weapons sparked and short-circuited under the interference from the beacon. Ethan ducked behind a console, returning fire with a portable EMP device. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the entire chamber shook. The commander advanced toward them. You cannot escape, human. That device belongs to us. Ethan gritted his teeth. You can try to take it, but ideas cannot be owned, and hope cannot be erased. He pressed another override, sending a wave of energy through the chamber. The commander staggered back as the lights of the relay station flickered wildly. Liara's strength was fading, but her hand remained steady, keeping the beacon connected. The broadcast, the archive spread across every network, every satellite, every galaxy-connected terminal. A soft hum filled the chamber, turning into a bright glow. Ethan looked at Liara. It's working. She smiled faintly. Yes, it is. Almost done. Red lights flashed as the station systems began to overload. Ethan grabbed her hand. We have to move now. They raced through the corridors, dodging collapsing metal and sparks flying from exposed conduits. The station trembled under the strain of the broadcast. Liara stumbled, her energy almost gone. Ethan caught her, holding her tightly. Come on, we're almost out. Finally, they reached the docking bay. Ethan activated the shuttle, and they shot away just as the station began to explode. Fire and light filled the void, but the beacon continued transmitting, safe inside Liara's wristband. Aftermath. Once back on the planet's surface, Ethan helped Liara to a safe location. She was weak, her body fading, but her eyes shone with satisfaction. The archive is safe, she whispered. Kalara will not be forgotten. Ethan knelt beside her. You did it, we did it. Humanity just proved we're capable of good, Liara, your people. They'll live again. Liara's glow dimmed further. She placed a small hand on his cheek. Your kindness gave my people hope. Never forget. Humans can be the same. Her body shimmered one last time before fading into pure light. Ethan sat in silence, holding the now empty wristband. A soft pulse of energy radiated from it, carrying the Kalaran knowledge to every corner of the galaxy. A new beginning. Months passed. Ethan returned to his life, but nothing was the same. News networks buzzed with reports of mysterious broadcasts of alien knowledge, revealing lost technology, history, and culture from a long-extinct species. Scholars, engineers, and explorers everywhere marveled at the sudden wealth of information. Humanity had gained not just technology, but understanding, lessons in harmony, cooperation, and responsibility. Ethan became a quiet hero, known in whispers and online forums as the human who helped save a civilization's memory. He kept Liara's wristband on his workbench, a reminder that sometimes one person's small act of kindness could change the course of entire worlds. At night, he would look up at the stars and think of Liara, imagining her spirit moving among them. He smiled. Humanity had proven it could rise even when the odds were impossible, and for the first time in a long while, Ethan felt proud, not of machines, not of technology, but of what humans could do when they chose to care. The stars above New London twinkled brighter, as if celebrating a victory for both worlds.